Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I welcome you all to the last part of the chapter, India Natural Disasters. Now let's see the next natural disaster, that is the coastal erosion. What is coastal erosion? Whatever the erosion that takes place along the coastal line because of the seawater, we call it as coastal erosion. What happens here? The sea waves strike the coasts with greater force. This constant process leads to the erosion of coasts. Hence, coastal erosion is the process of wearing away and removal of materials along the coastline by wave action. The causes and distribution of coastal erosion. The coastal erosion is mostly caused by sea waves and ocean currents. Students, what do you mean by the ocean currents? An ocean current is any more or less permanent or continuous directed movement of ocean water that flows in one of the Earth's oceans. The currents are generated from the forces acting upon water, like the Earth's rotation, the wind, the temperature and salinity differences, and also the gravitation of the moon. In India, the causes of coastal erosion are: number 1, the monsoon winds; number 2, tropical cyclones; number 3, the tsunamis. Now let us discuss them one by one. Monsoon winds. The southwest monsoon winds cause intensive coastal erosion along the west coast of India. During this season, the coasts of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu are largely affected by coastal erosion. Second, tropical cyclones. We have already discussed tropical cyclones in this chapter. The tropical cyclones are destructive and mostly occur during the northeast monsoon season over the Bay of Bengal. They cause serious coastal erosion along the east coast of India, including the coastal areas of Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Odisha. What is the third reason? The third reason is tsunamis. The tsunamis are large waves generated by earthquakes. The coastal erosion occurred due to tsunamis in India. Andaman and Nicobar Islands and east coast of India have been affected by tsunamis. Now, are there any man-made causes of coastal erosion? Yes, of course. The human interference also results in coastal erosion. The removal of sand and construction breakwater are the main causes of coastal erosion. Now, the effects of the coastal erosion. The coastal erosion is one of the natural disasters. And what are the effects? The coastal areas, including trees and buildings, can be washed away. The second effect, the roads, railway lines, bridges along the coast can be damaged. The coastal areas can remain flooded over a long period of time, requiring the resettlement of the people. These are some of the effects of the coastal erosion. Number 1, constructing retention walls, groins, and breakwaters to protect the coastal areas from wave erosion. The second way how we can prevent: restrict sand mining in coastal areas. The third and very important, planting of trees along the coast to stabilize the coastal dunes. The next natural disaster is earthquake. So the earthquakes are the natural disasters. You do not know when an earthquake would take place. They happen suddenly, especially in the Himalayan belt, Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Assam, West Bengal, Uttarakhand. We do not come to know as to when it would happen, and they happen. And when they happen, they bring wild scale destruction. So, now, what's an earthquake? The vibration, the violent vibration, or movement of the upper layers of the earth due to the pressure created inside is called as earthquake. It's one of the worst natural hazards which often results in the disaster. What are the reasons for the earthquake? Number one, the pressure increases in the interior of the earth. What he call it as the volcanic eruption. The second reason, the movement of the plates, the tectonic plates. Third, faulting and folding. Let's say there are two plates on Earth's crust. They fault or fold on top of one another. The other reasons are the landslides, collapse of underground cave roofs, the hydrostatic pressure of man-made water bodies like the reservoirs. In India, most of the earthquakes that have occurred earlier were due to the plate movements. The effects of the earthquakes. The cracking of the ground surface. The cracks will develop on the earth's surface as a result of the earthquakes. Damage and destruction of buildings, rails, roads, power lines, telecom lines, bridges, dams, factories. The loss of human life and property. So this effect is common for every disaster. That in every disaster there is loss of human life and property. Fires. Sometimes fire will break out because of earthquakes. The landslides are also the result of earthquakes. And also the disturbance, and also the disturbance in the groundwater level, blockage and diversion of river courses, destruction of forests due to fire. The distribution of the earthquakes. There are three major earthquake zones in India: the Himalayan zone, the IndoGigantic Zone, and the Peninsular Zone. The Himalayan Zone. This zone includes the states of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar. And this zone is a zone of maximum intensity. The earthquakes in this zone are basically due to plate tectonics. That's in Chamoli and Uttarakashi. The Indo-Gigantic Zone. It lies to south of the Himalayas. It comprises of Rajasthan, plains of Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. This zone is called as the zone of moderate to intensity. That means the earthquakes are here, they have the medium intensity. They are not too dangerous like we see the earthquakes in the Himalayan zone. So the intensity is less as compared to the Himalayan zone. The Peninsular Zone. This zone includes the islands of Lakshadweep, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and Rann of Kutch. Peninsular India had been considered as a stable landmass. Only a few earthquakes have been occurred in this zone, mostly in the recent years. Therefore, it's known as zone of minimum intensity. Now, what are the precautionary measures? Whenever there is an earthquake, how is that you can avoid it? You cannot avoid the earthquake, but how is that you can save yourself from the earthquakes? The first thing, that it's better to avoid the human settlements in the earthquake prone zones. So what's the first thing? Avoid the human settlements in the earthquake prone zones. Follow earthquake resistant designs for the construction of buildings. See, we know that whenever there is an earthquake, that the cracks will develop in the buildings and there are high chances that the building may collapse. So we must follow resistant designs for the construction of buildings. Use building materials of high quality and avoid high-rising buildings. So high-rise buildings should be avoided. So wherever there is an earthquake zone, so you should not have many floors like 10, 20 floors. So you have to reduce it max to max 2 or 3 floors. Restrict diggings of deep wells for groundwater. And also restrict urban growth in the hilly areas with high seismic vulnerability. Avoid the construction of large dams and reservoirs. Also, in the earthquake zones, stop deforestation and heavy quarrying activities. Besides, post-disaster measures after earthquakes are also essential. That's relief, recovery, rehabilitations. Just have a look at this chart. It gives you the earthquakes, the year of occurrence, the location, the affected areas, the magnitude of the earthquakes on the Richter scale, and the deaths caused because of these earthquakes. As already mentioned, that earthquakes are the worst natural disasters which cause a lot of damage to the property, and also many lives will be lost because of the earthquakes, as the earthquakes are sudden. That's all about the natural disasters. See you in the next video. Jazakallahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.